sharing anything about that? Did you get to meet her? What was that like?
I was involved in a very small capacity. I had the amazing pleasure of assisting the producer Inflow, who produced, I'm pretty sure it's like more than half of the album, her most recent album. And he is an amazing producer in his own right. He's got such a honed in process. And we were at Metropolis Studios at the time. Like, this is public knowledge. She said all of this in her radio interview with Zane Lowe.
The Apple Music one, yeah.
I think the Apple one, yeah, which is a great interview. You should also check that out. But they kind of were bouncing between studios, in LA and London. When they were in London, they were at Metropolis, which is where I was an assistant engineer for 2.5 years. Prior to going freelance. And working with him, I learned a lot working with him. Like I said, there was a specific process and things I had to do on a daily basis for her session specifically, just by way of setting up and making sure that everyone in the room was really comfortable. I was actually not physically present in the room when the tracking was going on. I was kind of there to make sure that everything was set up and plugged in, everything working, doing scratch tests every morning. And I got to kind of peek into the room at times when I was delivering food or when I got a text saying something wasn't working or I needed to just pop in, check in, make sure that everyone had teas and coffees, stuff like that. So it was a little bit hands off from my side, but yes, I did get to meet her. And she did say my name once, like just to like call me over. And I think I just died inside. But it was more like
pressure's on.
It was more the fact that actually it meant so much to me that she had taken the time to learn my name. And like, I wasn't just the assistant. She knew me by name and she was comfortable just saying to me, "Hey, Ramera, could you go buy me some biscuits or something?" And that was, I don't know, maybe I'm making this deeper than it needs to be, but it's actually really, really meaningful. I mean, as with anyone, especially in studio environments, sometimes you get brushed aside as the assistant. And it was nice to kind of feel at least partially included in that. So yeah, I assisted a couple of those tracks that they did at Metropolis. So
awesome. Well, that's a pretty dope credit to have. So
thanks.
A good place to start from. Totally. Awesome. So I think this is a great opportunity to kind of jump over to the Sauce segment and talk about and listen to what you've kind of been doing and talk about it. So you sent me a track called No Matter What I Say by Matt Taylor, who you mentioned earlier in the interview. So let's have a listen to that for about 90 seconds and we'll chat about it. Sound cool?
Yeah. Amazing.
Shouldn't hurt like this no more. I got a little caught up in the moment, but all of my fears start running tracks, clutching at heights I can't get back without you. Oh no. No matter what I say, you're still running back. No matter what I say, you're still running back. Yeah, you can't do your mind no good. I think I'm asking for light in a hollow. Yeah, but I'm not shaking. I just wish I could have known it sooner, 'cause I never got to ask you about it. Oh no. But no matter what I say, you're still running back.
Yeah, Ramera, it sounds awesome. I love the I love how the vocal is very affected, but it still sounds very intimate and close.
Oh, okay. I'm so glad that comes across.
Totally. And the piano's got this nice noisy vibe to it, and it's not just a totally clean piano. Yeah.
I love that piano. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds great. Tell me a bit about that track.
So I actually engineered, I recorded the piano as well. So I vocal produced the track and engineered it as well. There's some like really amazing synth sounds. Matt is a producer as well, and he self-produces quite a bit. So working on this with him was just, I mean, it feels quite natural all the time, and we have such a great relationship. So when he brought me the song, it sounded quite similar. I mean, demo wise and parts wise, anyway, the arrangement was very similar to the final one. There are a couple more backing vocals in the final version that we kind of actually did on the spot on the day. And again, a lot of it comes from the emotion that, you know, is coming from the recording session on the day itself and how the song makes us feel. This day in particular, you know, as we said earlier, sometimes vocalists have off days and some days, you know, everything is switched on. And this was a day that everything was definitely switched on. So we were lucky there. But, you know, I think the situation that Matt was writing about at the time was still quite fresh when we went into the recording session. And, you know, we're really able to hone in on those emotions. And basically, I dimmed all the lights when we were recording the vocals. The piano and the vocals are recorded on separate in separate sessions. Actually, maybe I'll talk about the piano bit,
please,
first.
I'd love to hear about it.
The arrangement, again, I take no credit for this. It's all Matt and his mind, but he's doing something similar on both hands when he's playing, but you know, it's in unison, and then, you know, when the chords change, he's doing something different with the left hand than he is with the right hand, but it's like it almost becomes like a moving scale, but he's doing the opposite thing with another hand. And so we kind of quadruply tracked this piano. So we kind of have the left, I think his left hand is tracked 4 times and his right hand is tracked 4 times. And we kind of blended the parts. So he's playing multiple piano parts over one another.
Wow.
Kind of creating the kind of layered effect. And even though some of the notes are quite close and dissonant, sometimes the notes clash, but I think it all contributes to, there's a bit of tension, I think, towards the end where the synths and the kind of filtered kick come in. And I think that kind of just helps create that tension a little bit. And it's all relieved in that part, you know, where you can hear the gang vocals. That's me. I'm in there going, gosh, what are the lyrics? The word is difficult. And then, you know, he's obviously singing those lines, and I made him do doubles because it's quite, you know, I felt that it needed to be, the weight of the words needed to be there. You know, we had another friend with us in the studio as well, and we, you know, the 3 of us are shouting over that part also. And that's kind of quadruple tracked as well and layered. Towards the latter half of the song, the vocals are quite layered, but the first half, as you said, was meant to be quite intimate and close, but still affected. And, you know, I think he does this really well, where he can still have a very heavily affected vocal, but still somehow capture an intimate performance. And that's kind of what we wanted to get across with this track, really. But yeah, like I said, I dimmed all the lights. You know, we had a cup of tea each, and I dimmed the lights in the control room as well. And we just really got into it. I made the rooms quite warm, just so, you know, we could both feel quite comfortable and relaxed in a sense. But again, the environment where you're recording vocals is so important. You know, fairy lights, candles, things like that. They just add so much more to it. I'm also automating the click throughout when we were kind of in the tracking session for the vocals. There are parts where, especially towards the end, where the track gets heavier, where he needed to be kind of on the grid. But then in the beginning half, I wasn't sending click to headphones. It's just kind of him feeling it out. And there were a lot. And I said, just sing this all the way through. We also made the creative decision to not break it up into parts. So it's quite literally him singing it all in one take.
Wow. No way.
There are a few comps towards the end with the layers, but that first half is actually one take.
And it's not doubled.
No, not the first half. No, but only when you can kind of hear, when the vocal is doubled.
It almost has like maybe it's just like a what's it called? Like a slapback kind of delay that's made.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mix this track. A lovely mix engineer named Ash did, and he did a wonderful job. So yeah, it's a great track. I love, you know, as much as I love working on sassy pop bangers, I do love kind of working on the more emotional, raw performances as well. And it's really special to kind of work with someone on this track who I've worked with for a very long time and have a relationship with. And we can just speak candidly when we're in the studio. And I'm like, after he's done a take, I'll be like, are you okay? Like, what are you thinking about? What's on your mind? Do you want to go for another take, or do you want to take a break? Stuff like that.
Wow.
Really being intuitive and just communicating with the artist was really important here. And I think just with this whole project, that EP, April 13th, which the song No Matter What I Say is on, what he wanted to do was make people feel like they were in a place. He wanted the songs to take you somewhere. And I know when I listen to Godspeed, especially, and No Matter What I Say, those two songs off the EP really take me to a specific moment in time where I'm feeling what he's talking about, or I can sense that I've been through something similar, or I can hear it being the soundtrack in the background to a moment in my lifetime.
Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah, I think you did a great job capturing it. And it's
Thank
cool
you.
how deep you were able to get with that session, and how the relationship side of things affected it, and how you were able to kind of help get him into that emotional space to do one take, which is nuts. How many takes?
The first half.
Yeah, but how many takes did it take to get that take? How long did that take?
I don't think we did too many. I think we did, and this is the other thing where vocal production comes in handy. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I think we did something like 6.
Please go
total.
on tangents. I love tangents. That's why I'm here.
What? We did 6 takes total, something like 6, between 6 to 8, but not more than that. Like, it was definitely not more than 10. Because I think there's something really damaging about just pressing 3 and like putting something in loop record without giving any direction, and just like letting an artist go, and like you're like, okay, you're ready to record, okay, cool, and then you like lean back and you sit on your phone. And I mean, I feel like I was really throwing some shade there, but I'm not trying to. But it's it's about being present, even if you might be tired, you might not be digging the song, but it's just about being present to show the artist that you really do care about the project and about how everything is sounding. It makes all the difference. And when you are vocal producing and giving direction effectively, it makes it easier for the artist to kind of hone in on those parts, so they don't have to do as many takes. It's about being efficient, really, as opposed to like in post, me going through comping 25 takes of a verse and thinking he hasn't enunciated the words once in this whole verse, because nobody pointed out, like, give this to me with, some harsher consonants when you're singing.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes.
Yes. It's so important to be present. And I'm glad you said that, because that was something that I was thinking about earlier on. I feel like we didn't fully talk about this yet, of like, when you're producing a vocalist, or when you're in the studio with the vocalist, kind of responding to how they sing something. And like, I don't know who told me this, but it's like every time you ask the artist to sing another take, you have to give them a reason why. You can't just say, sing it again. You have to say, yeah, that was great, but you were kind of lost your pitch there on that word, and I want you to hold that note a little longer, or whatever it is. Like, there always has to be a reason why you're asking them to sing a take, and that presence that you kind of mentioned is something that I always, almost to a fault, that's kind of what I do in the studio, because I'm so hyper focused usually, and I forget about the world outside of myself often. But
I feel
because it's deep work, you know what I mean, and just remembering what that take was and what part of it you wanted, and let's move on. Like
taking notes,
yeah, and being present and just communicating all the time with the artist is so important. And so thank you for sharing that. That's also really important.
Of course, yeah.
For the art, the people that are recording vocals, these are like the no shortcut zones. I think is like the.
There are none.
I need to take a lesson from you about setting up the vibe and the candles and
Trust me, sometimes it's hard.
Stuff. Yeah.
Oh God, especially after a long week, I'm like, oh God, one more session and then we're done. But you have to empathize and think, okay, from the artist's perspective, like this is their day to come in and capture this performance for this one track. Like I need to be 100% present, and it's difficult booking in sessions that way as well, because. If I know on a specific day that I've booked in, I cannot give 100%. I let the artist know, like, hey, I might be struggling a bit today. just because of this, but no fear. Might just have to take a couple more breaks today, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it kind of keeps the